Hello, and thank you for being here tonight. Welcome to the second and final Capstone Exhibition of 2020. This is the space between, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about how tonight's going to go, and then we'll get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is make a couple of announcements. And then you're going to hear from Frederick Bartalovich. He is the interim director of the School of Art and Design. And after that, Sandra Reed, the professor who has been working with the Capstone students, will talk a little bit about that experience. And then we have a video for you where you're going to get to see artwork that is in the show, and also you get to hear each one of the artists talk about their work. And that video is about 18.5 minutes long. And you may want to write down some questions, because at the end of the video, you're going to get a chance to ask some questions. The artists are all here and they are ready to take your questions. So the announcements that I have, first of all, regarding this exhibition that we're going to be talking about tonight, the exhibition is actually open now in the Carroll Gallery, and the hours are from 10 to 4, but it's only open by appointment. So if you'd like to see the show, if you're in the area, just give us a call at the School of Art and Design, and we'll be happy to help set up an appointment for you. And I certainly hope that you can. It's a beautiful show, but not to worry if you're not in the area, because you are going to get a chance to see some of the artwork tonight. And the second announcement is that we have another show opening soon in the Burke Art Gallery, and that is the Foundations Review exhibition that will open on November 16th. It's only open for 3 days, so it's a really quick show, but it's open from the 16th to the 18th, and then there will be an awards reception for that exhibition on Wednesday, November 18th, and that is at 5:30 p.m. So it'll be another virtual reception just like this one, but that is on the 18th. And then if you get a chance to go to the Burke Art Gallery to see that show, the work will be up for 3 days, but it's open from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Monday and Wednesday. And if you want to get it on a Tuesday, then you can just call and make an appointment. So that is it for my announcements. So the next thing I'm going to do is introduce Frederick Bartalovich and Frederick. Hi, Frederick.
Hi.
Hello.
How are you?
Good.
I thank you, everybody, for coming this evening and partaking in this virtual opening that we have. I want to just start by saying, yeah, my name is Frederick Bartalovich. I'm the interim director of the School of Art and Design. And I want to congratulate the students more than anything. I went down and took a quick peek at the show today. What a phenomenal array of work that is our exhibition, just so diverse, so interesting. Each of you have an incredibly compelling piece or pieces that are on display down there. I think it's really important to provide for family and friends just a little bit of historical perspective on what all of you as artists have gone through this semester. You know, when the pandemic hit back in March and things got shut down, we really didn't know how things were going to progress for the school, how classes were going to progress, or how capstones were going to progress. So it has been a semester of figuring things out. It's been like no other semester for sure. And that's the thing is, you know, we are caught in a really unusual predicament in art where what we do requires us to be face to face. It requires that we have interaction with one another, and that we are able to look at the scale of an object or the color or shade or hue of a painting without the distortion or interruption of that being transmitted through a virtual format. So once the fall semester started, we implemented so many different safety protocols, including masks, different ways to move throughout the building, different ways to work within the building. Everybody who has produced and taken classes this semester has had to deal with a different sort of reservation system. And all in all, everybody has pulled together to create a really successful semester and a successful show. And it impresses me so much that everybody's worked so hard to get to this point. It really takes a community to come together, including student artists, including Jamie, our gallery director, and Sandra Reed, who has led this class, to make and pull off this capstone show. Every student in this show has also had a faculty mentor that they've worked with very closely through the course of the semester, and I just want to thank all of the faculty in the School of Art and Design and the dedication that the faculty have had with the students for this capstone. One of the things that I think is really important is the skill of adaptability as an artist. Being able to think on your feet, being able to shift your perspective, being able to go ahead and just be present in times of change like this. I think that all of these student artists did just that. They figured out how, in the face of adversity, to go ahead and persevere. And I think that they all adapted their practice to work within all of these new confines. So I'm particularly proud of that artistic achievement under the circumstances, to create a show that is just as good, if not better, than any show that we've had before. And I think that if you can finish your art education in this sort of a climate, that you all can do anything that you set your minds to. So I want to just say congratulations to Courtney, to Zhuning, to Sa-Rai, and to Kelsea. Great job, and keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you, Frederick. And up next, we have Sandra Reed. One moment.
Hi, Jamie. I can see and hear you.
All right, Sandra. I'm getting you live in just a moment. All right.
There we go. Good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining us wherever you find yourselves. I hope that we have lots of friends and family members and faculty members participating and kind of seeing the presentation tonight. This is a really special evening. This is the second of our 2 Capstone Exhibition virtual receptions this semester. And Jamie really has created a wonderful experience for all of us in the event this evening. Capstone class meets once a week for 3 hours. So it's from the beginning of the semester, every Friday we get together. And the students, really by the second week of the semester, were forming their capstone proposal. And that capstone proposal included this time a capstone alternative plan, a what if plan, where if we closed down and we couldn't access the studios and we couldn't be together, how would they proceed? So that level of troubleshooting and kind of planning for the unknown is a great skill to have. And throughout, the students have focused on not what they can't do, but what they can do. So it's they were ready for anything. And the show that has been put together is such a culmination of not just the studio classes, but also the academic courses, the art history courses. A room full of artwork is a room full of ideas. And the students not only create work, but they write a statement, they put together a CV, they write this proposal, they're going to do a research presentation at the end of the semester. So it's a whole set of experiences that the work itself embodies. The gallery talks that they have put together and Jamie recorded with them on Saturday morning, so just a couple days ago, that they tried to put into that all this kind of nugget of ideas that they wanted to share with you. So that's an important part. And afterwards, we'll have the live Q&A that I'm sure that their gallery talks will lead you to want to talk with them further about their ideas. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. And thank you to Frederick, to Jamie, and to the faculty mentors who for this show were Miyuki, Frederick, Sarah McDermott, and then also Jamie Platt, now the students. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Sandra.
Absolutely.
And Frederick, thank you both for giving context to this wonderful show. And without further ado, we will play the video.
That are documentation of raw clay installations outside of the gallery. Within this piece, you can see that I have two fired ceramic components here, and I've used a lot of experimentation with the materials and things to incorporate clay slip that I mix with sand to get really rough textures, and then I balance that with the runniness and glossiness of glaze and decorate with different oxides and things found in the glaze chemistry. So within the work, I have 3 different sculptures that all have additional components. Working with land and concepts of place and space within Appalachia, I wanted to also recognize the history of this place and how lots of tribal and indigenous people lived here before the current Appalachia that we know today. And so I just wanted to quickly acknowledge that Shawnee and Cherokee peoples lived in Appalachia prior to the current Appalachia that we know. I want to thank everyone who helped me pull all this stuff together. Jamie Platt and Sandra Reed were really helpful getting everything installed yesterday and the long hours to get everything put together. Alora and Frederick were both really great, mentoring me and helping me within the ceramic studio to get everything fired and finished. Matthew Smith, our new sculpture professor, really helped me troubleshoot when things went weird in the sculpture studio. And I think that's it. So thank you all. I hope you are able to come out and check everything out in person, and we appreciate you. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Kelsea Helmick, and I'm a senior here at Marshall, and I'm a graphic design major, and I'm graduating in December. My capstone is titled Poetic Form because it combines both my love for writing poetry and creating physical forms through art. In this case, the art being letter forms. This also ties into my love for typography as a graphic design student and for the form and natural forms that you see within typography. I dedicated my capstone to the plants of West Virginia, each letter depicting a different plant that you see here in West Virginia. Each letter depicts a plant that I grew up around and that I was surrounded by. I grew up in the woods, I was homeschooled, and so my earliest memories are of being surrounded by nature and being influenced and inspired by nature. And in that way, I feel like nature really revealed to me the spiritual and sort of intellectual aspect of shape and form and beautiful things. And I feel like that plays a lot into me today as an artist, because art is also something physical, and they're just forms, but they affect us on another level, on a spiritual and intellectual level, like nature does. And that way I feel that they're very synonymous. And so that being said, that I've written a poem, and I projected on this white birch bark here, and the legibility is a little bit, read it, it's not super crisp, but I thought that played into how nature and art are synonymous, and they are kind of combined. And to me, they're sort of one, and they play off each other. Because the legibility isn't super clear on the Burke, I'm also going to provide some cards. I'm going to have them sitting out here, and anyone can take them, and it'll have the poem printed out, and you'll be able to read it, and you can even hold it and read it while you're looking at the exhibition. All of my letters were created digitally. They're all vector-based art in Illustrator, but the font is my own font. It's my own handwritten letter forms, and I went with I wanted them to have like a fluidity to them, and to sort of portray the forms that we see in the natural world. So I did create all of my letter forms in Illustrator. They're all vector-based art. However, the font that I used is my own handwriting, and I gave it a fluidity, and I wanted it to depict natural shapes that you see in nature and the world all around us, because I really believe that nature and art, you see it everywhere. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Zhuning Huang. I'm an international student. My capstone project has 3 big paintings and several small paintings. The big painting recorded a beautiful moment in my life, and you should have seen 2 women in underwear, and same sofa in each painting. This is the same place in my apartment, but different angle, and people in different posture. This inspiration from small, interesting events in my life. One day I just was sitting and chatting with my friend, with my roommate on sofa. Then I saw sunlight on her face. I hardly saw her facial feature, but I think that was so beautiful. Then I told her, "You look like an angel." Then I observed the sunlight on everywhere. I found the cast shadow and the human skin that was absolutely perfect combination. So now that is what you're saying. Also, I was really enjoying the human body, whatever the posture, the color, skin color, and the contour line. Everything, I was so excited to paint it. Then we turn to the small painting. You can see the leg. I know you you guys was really wonder what is that. It was also interesting thing. When I get up, I saw a light sunlight on my legs. Then I think that was like a fishing net stocking. That was so interesting, so I recorded it. And then another small painting. The first one is a cat bowl. That was my roommate and I kept kiwis food. I think that was lovely. Then my favorite flower, sunflower. The first cake I made with my roommate. And the mask. I know this is a very specific, special appearance. So everyone wear the mask. So that was special for us. Mahjong, that my first time I learned Mahjong in here with my Chinese friend. So I think it's meaningful for me. The last one is my favorite sneaker, Little Green. Also, you can see I wear it. He is like an old friend, and he accompanied me to everywhere. I also have portrait and my self-portrait and the interview. I think the small painting looked like really unforgettable and meaningful for my experience of starting a work. And finally, I want to thank my mentor, Jamie, and my professor, Sandra, and Ian, also my classmates. They helped me a lot of and give me a lot of advice. Thank you all.
This is on like the wall for like on Amazon's factories, like, you know, so like people that like work into the bone and like pee in their pants, like working in an Amazon factory, and then they're like, it has this like fun little slogan. So it's just kind of like you can like their brand identity, but it's like not accurate to like everything that incorporates what a corporation is. They're so large, you know. My name is Sa-Rai Robinette. My exhibition is called Rerouting. That means to send someone along a different path. Tech companies like to portray themselves as innovators and problem solvers, and they build entire corporate cultures and brands around this identity, but they largely ignore their socioeconomic effects on all of us, or their complacency and participation within a system that exploits the most vulnerable among us. With this project, I created a series of prints where I utilized web mapping, such as Google Maps, to help me critique and investigate the relationship between technological determinism and corporate capitalism. By using the technology created by those very same corporations, we can explore the ways in which their technological determinism can actually be of harm to us. And hopefully, by holding them accountable, we can create a greater change collectively in our relationship with these corporations and with each other. So there were 3 large prints within the show that use a variation of CMYK silkscreen process. I chose 3 tech companies and 3 related social issues surrounding these companies. The shape of each print is in the shape of each company's headquarters, so I chose to pick Google, Amazon, and Facebook respectively. I also put their respective mottos and slogans that they are known for on the walls next to each print. So for example, in the print Googleville, the print is on aluminum in the shape of the Googleplex, Google's headquarters. The imagery of that print is a homeless encampment in San Jose, California, where companies like Google exacerbate the already tense and strained housing market. Another important thing to note is the CMYK process that I digitally altered these Google image screenshots and removed the place within the print where people were, and that's relevant to each individual concept. So for the Googleville print, specifically, that's where the Googleville homeless encampment was, and they were pushed out from that location. And so I removed along the underpass where they were. And this print specifically, for seeing what I processed, I had to break the image up into multiple different layers. So there's 9 sections that had to be printed 4 times each. So there's 32 layers, right? 32.
What does it do to the images that you've removed the people?
I think for me, it highlights the removal. It highlights the area. Is that what?
What about the removal is important to know? It's not like you had a picture of people who were in a space and these people were impacted by something. You had a picture that had people in it and you took them out. And that means something. But I'm just wondering if you can talk about why you took them out instead of leaving them in.
Well, Google Maps doesn't really show exactly like what was there. Like it doesn't show the history of a place. But you look up like this underpass and you just see an underpass. So by removing the places where people were already removed from, I think it's like directly calling attention to that process.
And it sounds to me like what you're doing is related to this idea of rerouting, where the information that you get when you look up in Google Maps, you're trying to figure out where something is, and you're getting like a satellite view of what something is. So it seems like you're seeing the whole picture, but what you're actually seeing, it's an idea of what's there, but it's not the whole picture.
Yeah. I think that's also the thread for like a lot of the ideas people should rethink about like technology, because it's like we think like algorithms are clean and unbiased and like sanitary. We think of the technology entirely, we think of it as something that's super clean and sanitary and perfect. But it's like, it's not perfect. I mean, think of it, it's like who made it, you know?
Yeah.
I also created a video installation that was inspired by Buckminster Fuller's Demaxian map, which was a map that depicted a more accurate version of the world, and where the map was wind-folded creates the shape of an icosahedron. This installation represents our collective power and a possible brighter path that we can take. I wanted to create this body of work on this specific subject because as someone from Appalachia, I'm familiar with the other side of the digital divide, as well as other forms of inequality that surrounds us. I don't think that society needs to exploit people with progress. And I also believe that these companies should be trying to do more to mitigate harm than what they are currently doing. They shouldn't just get to do whatever they want without thinking of the consequences. I believe that it's up to us to help enact that change. I want to thank Sandra Reed, Jamie Platt, Sarah McDermott, Sabrina Thomas, the folks at our CDI, my wonderful girlfriend, Sarah Fox, Zane Pinson, and the staff at the Visual Arts Center, and everyone who ever believed in me and helped me get to this point. My time at Marshall and this capstone has been a journey, and I don't think I could have done it without everybody, so thank you so much.
Okay, thanks everybody. And now it is time for the question and answer session. So if you have a question for any of our artists, you can go ahead and type it into the Q&A box on your screen. And while you're thinking of your questions, I have a couple of questions for the artists. So my first question is going to be for Courtney. And let's see. Courtney, if you can turn your microphone on.
Yep, I'm here.
Great. Okay, so Courtney, my question for you is, I'm wondering about your process because your materials are such a big part of your work, and I'm curious, when you start a new artwork, do you start with materials or do you start with an idea, a concept that isn't material based?
That's a good question. I think they kind of go hand in hand almost. So I think a lot of the materials inform the concept and then therefore inform the process and how the project evolves. And then simultaneously, sometimes the concept will be, sort of the starting point, and then the materials will help it evolve in like an interesting way. So I feel like I really kind of go back and forth between those things. And I really enjoy like the materiality of ceramics and all of the things that go into like making a raw piece or a fired piece. And so I just think I kind of flow back and forth between them.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. And I have another well, this isn't really a question, but it's a comment for everyone. It's from Lily Dyer, and she said, all caps, I am so proud. Thank you, Lily.
Thanks.
All right. So, Sa-Rai, there's a question for you.
Yeah.
And the question is, what led to the decision to include words on the walls? I'm specifically curious about the phrase, don't be evil.
Well, okay. I think it helps, so weird to hear myself. Give me, sorry, just one second. Okay, big sorry. Oh yeah, okay. I think it helps the viewer connect the dots, because right, I mean, you're looking at like an underpass and you're like, what? And then there's the phrase, don't be evil, and you're like, what? But I mean, you can search that. You could actually, ironically, Google it, and then learn that that was Google's former slogan that they got rid of right around the time that like a lot of controversies started happening. It was like more of a motto, internal motto. But and then I think also it adds this layer of like irony to the work, maybe like it's not like funny, you know what I mean? But like that kind of like, oh, don't be evil. And then you can just like see on Wikipedia a list of like controversies like related to the company. And you're like, wow, some of that kind of seems kind of could be perceived as evil. I don't know.
Thank you, Sa-Rai. Courtney, I have another question for you. And this question is from Sarah McDermott. And the question is, can you talk a little bit more about what interests you about land, space, and place in Appalachia and how that plays out in your exhibition? I also think the first part of your video got cut off, so I didn't hear much of what you were saying at first. Oh, and I want to just tell everybody right now that I'm sorry about the beginning of that video getting cut off, but I have the original recording, and so I will have that made into a YouTube video and put on the School of Art and Design playlist or on the Marshall University YouTube channel. So, okay, so go ahead, Courtney.
Yep. Okay, so thanks for that question. I'm really drawn to land in general because I love being outside and in the woods, and I like farming and things like that. So just my own interests like kind of bring me toward that, but also land historically in Appalachia is just really complicated. It is everywhere, but just the history of mining and extraction and the history of like the way families you know, connect to the land and interact with it over time, and the way it kind of like gets bound up in those things, in like cultural things,
is really interesting to me. And so I use a lot of map imagery in the work that I make, and a part of that is just because I think it's interesting that maps are like these small visual representations and ways of people trying to make sense of like something big. And so I just think that's kind of interesting, and I like to explore that concept.
Thank you, Courtney.
Yeah.
Hey, Kelsey. So I have a comment from Danny. He says, I am, this is for Sa-Rai. Put you up here. Okay. He says, I'm extremely proud of Sa-Rai. Wonderful job.
Thanks.
Thanks, Danny. Okay, so while we are waiting for more questions, I do have another question, and this is really for everybody. So I'll start with you, Sa-Rai. Do you have any advice for freshmen?
Oh, I would say take advantage of every single resource that is offered to you. I mean, it's like you're paying for it already, whether or not you use it. So it can help you grow so much. Try to learn as much as you can. I mean, because it's like, I've been here for forever, but time flies, right? So it's like, try to learn as much as you can, do as much as you can. Definitely do extracurriculars. Hang out with your peers and try to do things outside of school, because I feel like that is, I mean, all of this is super important, but I think long term, that's what's gonna, like, I feel like help you mold even more. Yeah.
Thank you, Sa-Rai. And Zhuning, I have a question for you. Actually, I have two questions, because I'd also like to hear if you have any advice. But another question just came in from Hannah. She says, congratulations to everyone. And she has a question for Zhuning. She says, have you considered painting on an even larger scale?
I just think it's observe the more your life and find some interesting things. Just that.
Okay. And why the square format?
Square because I think it's just at least I have big painting, then I go to more to buy. I think it's good size. I don't know, just I think that it's good for my big painting.
It is a different choice for paintings, for sure. But the other thing Hannah says is beautiful work, by the way.
Thank you.
Thanks, Hannah, for your question. And now, Zhuning, do you have any advice for freshmen?
I think I will say just enjoy yourself, because a lot of inspiration from our life, and you can also find some interesting things. It can be a good could be a work for you, I think.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, and Zhuning, I have another question for you. Sarah McDermott says, why do you think you are drawn to mundane, everyday aspects of life as your subject matter in painting?
I can't really understand this question.
So why do you think that you're drawn to painting subjects that are just ordinary things?
It can be why I would like to paint the people on my drawing like this, because it can be, I said, it's from small events from my life, and I really like drawing. I really like drawing figure I think the figures, like body line and the color and the portrait, that's all of the attract to me. So I just choose to paint the figure on my painting.
Right, but you're not painting famous people, right? You're painting people that you know, and yourself and your roommate. How come just ordinary things like your cat food dish instead of something like, I don't know, like a celebrity, or I don't know, something that's not ordinary?
Okay. I choose myself and my roommate because it's easy to observe our body, and it can, because my topic like record myself, my life, then it can be a good memory for experience. Yeah, so I choose myself on my painting.
Okay, thank you so much. That's a great answer. Okay. Thank you, Sarah, for your question. And Julia Pritt has a question for Sa-Rai.
Oh, we're still unmuted. Oh, hi.
Hi, Sa-Rai. Julia has a question. She says, do you think you will continue printing on reflective surfaces? And if so, how? If not, can you give us insight on your future project ideas?
Oh, I have like, I want to, yeah, it's really fun. It's kind of weird though, because you don't know 100% how it's gonna go. Like you don't know, like when you're printing on like experimental media, it's like say like this is a weird sound. The blanket made it almost like neon. This is so creepy. Can you hear this?
Yeah.
I have no idea. Kind of concerning. So the blanket, when I printed on it, it's like so reflective of a surface that it sorry, it's so hard to concentrate. Okay. The blanket was so reflective that within the CMYK process, it's like, which is what I like to do a lot, but necessarily it totally turns out differently if you don't do CMYK too, right? So there's so many variables. But like white is what the material is going to be. There's probably there's definitely ways that you can try to like change that or mitigate that, I guess. But like I usually leave it. And so everything that's supposed to be white within the image is whatever the material is. And so then that adds like this interesting, like, I don't know how to word that, but it's kind of cool. And so, yeah, I like printing on reflective surfaces because it's different. It's like, you don't know what's going to happen most of the time. And I have a whole list of ideas of things to do next. I could share with you my notes app, Julia.
Thank you, Sa-Rai. And I have another question for Zhuning. This is from Matt Smith. Matt says, I was curious that your style leans toward realism, but none of your larger paintings deal with eyes directly. Why are all your figures looking down and away or have red, blurry eyes? No judgments, just curious.
It means why the people in painting no eyes.
Right, why their eyes are not realistic, or why you can't see their eyes.
Okay, because I want people to focus my body, the people's body, and because I think focal point should be the line and line on the people's body, the shape. So the people's eyes, it can be who you are. So it's not necessary, I think.
Thank you. That's a great answer. And Soraya, another one for you. Are you still there?
Yeah.
What are your future plans? You'd make a great professor at MU. I hope you come here to teach. I've never seen a more hardworking person than you.
Who said that? Okay, who said that question?
Well, I'm not sure. I think, is it Matt? It might be Matt Smith.
Oh, well, that's very sweet. I actually, yeah, I want to go to grad school. I was looking at the University of Arkansas because I like their program and I want to apply there. So I have thought about being a professor, but I also have thought about working at like art centers or stuff like that, community art centers and spaces. But also, why not both? You know, I mean, I guess professors are really busy, but I don't know. I want to do everything. But I think I would like to teach. I would like to be an adjunct too. That could be fun, but I don't know. No pressure.
Thank you, Soraya. Okay, Courtney. Got a question for you.
All right.
So Anonymous says, Courtney, can you explain how you would want people to interact with your sculptures and in this installation space when we visit the gallery?
Yeah, that's a good question because there's a lot of dotted lines and things that connect in between the pieces. And I think there's different ways of approaching that. Like you could come up to that and think like you should follow this line around or, you know, something like that. But basically I wanted to just like connect in between the pieces so that you see them all like kind of reflections of each other and just interconnectedness. So when someone goes to the gallery, I would like, as you're approaching from the door, I think you could interact with the pieces in like a 3D way where you can move around the pedestals and see them from different sides and see the photos hanging on the wall. So that's kind of how I would describe that, but I don't know if that answers the question very well.
I think so.
Okay.
So another question for you, Courtney,
Okay.
also from someone anonymous.
All
It
right.
says, how did you like sculpting that large? I imagine it came with many challenges. Do you plan to continue building at a large scale for future projects?
Yeah, so the large piece that's on the metal frame is the biggest thing I've ever built in ceramics and with clay. And so it was very difficult. I learned a lot while I was building it for this exhibit. And so I'm drawn to build big or make things big. And I love like the kind of like human size scale of things where it feels just like, you know, it's like almost like another person. It has like a lot of energy, I think. And so I do intend to like keep building big, and I want to explore it more. With the piece that I'm talking about, that is the longer piece that's on the metal, I built that actually standing up. So the small part is like a tube that goes all the way through the piece, and I've assembled it like building it up as it goes. And it was very hard because as you start adding clay, you have to like try to keep it balanced so that it doesn't fall over. And so I had to pull out all kinds of like different tricks and things to try to keep it stable as I was building it. And then also firing it in the kiln, I built like some supports that held it up. And so it was very challenging, but I was really happy with it. And I do want to keep building big things like that.
Okay, great. Oh, and I can see now that was Peyton that asked that question. Thank you, Peyton, and thank you, Courtney.
Yeah.
Okay, and while I have you two here, I would like to hear from both of you if you have any advice for freshmen.
You're talking to me and Kelsey?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll go first. My advice would be that the professors here at Marshall are so supportive, and you can just really tell that they're so invested in you becoming a good artist and like exploring yourself and the things that you want to do in art, and just challenging you to like be to like figure that stuff out as you go. And so I guess my advice would be to like not to not miss out on that, like build relationships with your professors and really like if you are dedicated and you're working on something and you care about what you're doing, your professors will want to like support you. So don't ever feel like you can't talk to them or ask them for help or ask them for ideas. They'll probably be actually thrilled that you want to talk about your work. So that would be my advice.
Thank you.
Okay. I would just say, first of all, don't rush into any specific emphasis or major, and make sure there's so many different opportunities to learn so many different mediums in the art department here. And just take your time, because I know sometimes there can be a pressure to pick something specific. So just kind of take your time and take some classes and figure out what you like. And then also, you know, critiques and take advice from your peers, listen to what they have to say about your work, because you can learn so much from your peers. This stuff makes you question your art and change things that you would never think of on your own. So your peers are also a really, really great resource, and just be active in critiques, listen, take notes, things like that.
Thank you so much, both of you. Sa-Rai, I have another question for you.
Yeah, what's up?
Paige Owen.
What?
Paige
Oh,
would like to know, do you consider your capstone to be an end to your exploration of these themes, or do you see yourself continuing to make work like this?
I definitely don't see it as an end. I think it's more of like an open door to exploring everything further. I mean, like there was a lot of like great ideas, even just like discussing with like Courtney and like everybody else like here, like when going over the capstone, just like different ideas of like work to be made. So yeah, I think it's like, yeah, I think it's just like the beginning. I have like 5 other 1,000 ideas to do relating with it, but
I'm sure you do. All right, so let's see. Courtney.
I'm here.
So Alora has a question, and actually that was Alora who was asking about how to interact with the work in the space. And so Courtney, this time she's saying, let's see. Oh no, that's that question. How would you want people to interact with your people in the space? Okay, I'm sorry. She already asked that question.
Okay.
Okay. Oh. So, Soraya, that was Novid who said that she would like you to come and be a professor here.
oh, okay, cool.
All right. So let's see. Oh, Kelsey, I have a question for Kelsey. Let me get Courtney here. All right. So Kelsey, Anonymous says, I was interested to see you combining analog, like hand lettering, and digital technologies. Oh, I'm so glad someone asked this. Do you foresee continuing with more work in this vein, such as even in a more commercial context, if that's what you intend to do with graphic design?
Yeah. So I sort of built my capstone around the type of work that I am most interested in and would like to continue to do after graduating, and in a marketable way. I definitely plan on being a working graphic designer, and I think that's what I would love to do, is to kind of continue. And I love animation and things like that, so I like combining those two things, and that's sort of like one of my passions in the graphic design world. So yeah, I definitely want to keep doing that in the future.
Okay, great. Thanks. And that was Sarah McDermott that asked that question. Thanks, Sarah. Okay, and Courtney? I have another question for you.
Overshot.
And Peyton Dolan said, were all of your glazes experimental or have you used them in previous works?
Yeah, that's a cool question. So the glaze the white glaze that you see on like all the different pieces, that is a Maiolica glaze that I created in the studio. I found the recipe in a book, and Maiolica is just like means like a technique where you can paint on the surface of the glaze. So it's like a really stable glaze that doesn't run very much, and it like kind of holds its form so that you can paint on it. And so I've used that glaze a lot. For this capstone project, I experimented with some different stains and oxides. So in the glaze chemistry room, Peyton, if you take that class, you'll learn next semester, you'll learn all about this stuff. But you know, there's just like all the powders and all the different like things that you see in there, and you can experiment with those. And a lot of those oxides and different things, when you paint them onto a glaze, they'll have different effects. So I used copper something, and rutile and some other stuff. But anyways, yeah, so experimented with the mixtures that I put on the surface of the glaze.
Okay, great. Thank you, Courtney.
Yeah, thank you.
I have another question for Sa-Rai. And Sa-Rai, Danny said, if you could display your art at any gallery, where would it be and why?
I would like to display it in the New Orleans like contemporary gallery. I can't remember the exact name of it. It's like the Contemporary Museum in New Orleans. It's in New Orleans. And I would like to display it there because first of all, it's like a wonderful place. And then second of all, it's where I saw Michelane Thomas's work there, which heavily inspired my work. Just the presentation of her prints and just like the passion behind the work and the process. Yeah. So because I really like Michelane Thomas's work, and I went and saw her work there, and I enjoyed the museum, and it's beautiful. So yeah, and maybe PS1. I don't know.
Maybe PS1. Sure. All right. All right. Well, it looks like we are just about out of time. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. And we have gotten through all of our questions. So thank you so much, everyone. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you to all of our artists and to all of you for attending this evening. It means so much to all of us. So have a great night and take care.
Bye. Thanks for coming.
All right.